5 billion YouTube videos are viewed every day, while another 400 hours of video are loaded every single minute. So the question becomes, why in the world would you want to stay tuned for this video? Great question, isn't it? Well, hello, I'm Dr. Howard Rosenthal, and I'm going to teach you some things you don't know. As a counselor or therapist, this might just be the most important YouTube video you will ever experience. Here's what it's all about. The NCE, the CPCE, orals, written boards, and comps are tough, high-stakes exam. What's a high-stakes exam, you ask? Great question, and in fact, that very question might just appear on your test. High-stakes exams like the NCE, the CPCE, or even your driver's license test can determine your future. A counselor who does not pass one or both of these exams could prematurely end his or her career as a helper. In fact, in the case of the CPCE, it could stop you from graduating. Now, look, I know there are enough YouTube videos on the NCE and the CPCE to capsize a Carnival cruise ship. So the last thing the world needs is yet another Me Too video on the exams. So here's where I come in, and I firmly believe I have something new, unique, and creatively different to say. In case my name doesn't ring a bell, I'm the proud author of the 2017 Encyclopedia Counseling, the Purple Book, packed with 1,100 tutorial questions and easy-to-understand answers you've heard so much about. This icon is the best-selling counseling exam prep book in the history of our profession. Nothing even stacks up as a close second. What a lot of helpers don't know is that I also created the first comprehensive audio program, which actually made its debut prior to the encyclopedia. My very first program consisted of just 6 cassette tapes. Today, my upbeat, vital information and review question listen and learn program with 20 audio CDs that are totally different than the encyclopedia is well over 20 hours to help you score big on your exam. These CDs can easily turn a day on the beach, a walk in a park, or even a cross-country drive into an entertaining and upbeat world-class learning experience. And for gosh sakes, no, the audio CDs do not consist of me reading the encyclopedia book into a microphone. Give me a break. The whole idea is to experience the information in a totally different manner so you understand it better and you won't be caught off guard if the material is presented a little differently on the actual exam. Quite frankly, the Encyclopedia of Counseling book became a reality because counselors loved those first few audio cassettes and wanted me to write a text. Just as an aside, since I sometimes record in my office, when you listen to my CDs, if you listen ever so closely, on rare occasions, you might just hear my African gray talking parrots, Bogart Magellan, and my Quaker parrot Oliver in the distant background. A lot of folks have asked me if my birds really know the material. Well, not really, but at least they're trying. But thankfully, that's not your problem. Moving right along, I also created the first innovative human services dictionary with definitions purposely worded to take the sting out of tough exam questions. In other words, the dictionary was the first ever to use definitions to help you answer the most likely questions about that concept that the exam authors might ask you on the real exam. Smart, very smart. This text has become a superstar in the counseling, licensure, and certification exam prep movement. But the quintessential feature that put my study guides on the map was that I actually made and continue to make exam prep enjoyable. Yep, dare I say it, even fun. With my materials, there's no death by PowerPoint, and my materials won't end up being used as sleep therapy. And yes, the book and the audio program cover all the areas of the exam. Skeptical? Well, I can tell you that I have an endless string of testimonials, all with real names. Over the years, hundreds with 3 digits, of counselors have told me that they actually grieved when the study process ended. Try to wrap your brain about that one. I've received thousands of thank you letters, emails, and quite frankly, I've been offered a few home-cooked meals if I ever happen to be passing through Houston, Texas, Omaha, Nebraska, or dozens of other places I could name. I haven't taken anybody up on their offer yet. So the real object of this program is to tell you what I've learned over the years from immersing myself in comprehensive exam prep and communicating with thousands and thousands of counselors. Insider information, if you will. All right, I have some key principles I want to share, so let's get this party started. Number 1, Dr. Rosenthal. What's the most common thing you have heard after a counselor completes his or her comprehensive counseling exam? No, that's simple. Many, if not most of the counselors who take the CPCE or the NCE say the exact same thing. They are adamant that the questions were worded in a very strange or difficult to understand manner. Some test takers even go as far as to use the word weird. So, if you take one or more comprehensive exams and you find the wording of the questions very tough to follow, well, congratulations. I would say you are totally normal. Moving right along. Number 2, how well do most counselors feel that they did after taking the exam? Did they subjectively feel like they scored average, extremely high, or very low? Again, if I had $1 for every time I heard this one as well, and I don't, I'd be a rich man. Most counselors, presumably because of the tough wording of the questions, have no clue how they did on the exam, or they feel like they failed it. The good news is that a high percentage of my exam prep users who thought they failed the exam immediately after the exam was over ended up passing, sometimes with jaw-dropping, mega-high scores. Can you say over 135, and on occasion topping the mythical mark on the NCE? Nice. 3, how many people have you corresponded with who got a perfect score on the exam? As of this date, and I've been doing this for years and years, and did I say years? I guess I did. The example that I want to tell you, and the answer to the question is nobody. Nada. Zip. Not a single individual. And guess what? The few stats I've seen from NBCC back this up. Now, this is very important. As Albert Ellis, the father of RET, later named REBT, taught us, one of the major irrational ideas that causes emotional discord is that you should be thoroughly or competent in every area of your life. Now, the idea, folks, is to pass the exam, not to get a perfect score. It's really that simple. That said, I've communicated with a few counselors who came very close to getting perfect scores, especially on the CPCE. By the way, if somebody does ace one or both of these exams after I cut this program, congratulations for being an outlier, an unusually knowledgeable counselor, and one heck of a good test taker, or maybe you just got really, really lucky. 4. Aren't the questions on the real exam exactly like the ones in my study guide? I mean, if I use a really good exam prep program. Okay, I can answer this one with 3 little words. In your dreams. Okay, this goes for my program as well as every other exam prep program you will ever see. The concept that a good exam prep program has sample questions that are ideal to the real exam is insane. Folks, I always tell users of my material that if they spy a real question on the actual exam that's identical to the ones in my materials, then guess what? It's your lucky day, and you should make that run or drive as fast as the law allows to purchase a lottery ticket, since this, my dear friend, is your lucky day. Let's think this one through together. Let's say I do have a question in my materials that is identical to one on the real test. Don't you think that if the folks who create these exams discover this, they would change the question? Well, think about it. Of course they would. Now, it is true that many of my questions may be strikingly close to those on the real exam, but again, not identical. Number 5. What is the biggest mistake counselors make in terms of preparing for the test? Hello, that's simple. Waiting until the last minute to begin preparation. Over the years, I've had more than my fair share of counselors who say something like, "Hi, Dr. Rosenthal. I have to take my exam in 48 hours. Can you express ship the materials?" Oh, of course. I usually keep a spare FA-18 Hornet fighter jet in my garage for occasions just like this, and it can hit speeds of nearly 1,200 miles an hour. Just sit tight. I'll break the sound barrier, and I'll be right over with the materials. Not. Give yourself a break. Start studying at least 8 weeks before the exam. Ideally, I would like to see you give yourself 6 months. Geez, I mean, just to listen to my audio CDs one time would take you over 20 hours, even if you never took a break. Imagine you were counseling an accountant and trying to help her pass her exam to secure a CPA for her accounting career. Would you say, "Oh, I think a day or two study time should be sufficient for you"? Hello, I don't think so. Number 6. Do long study sessions work better than short ones? Here's my answer. Ditch the marathon study sessions. You know, those ones where you lock yourself in your room, or worse yet, the behavioral science library, with an obscene larger-than-life bag of Skittles and a giant case of Red Bull, and don't come out for a week. The ideal study session should be 20 minutes or less. Now, obviously, if you're going to limit sessions, when you study to under a half of an hour, you won't be able to begin your sessions 3 days prior to the administration of the exam, right? 7. Every field has a dirty little secret. What's the dirty little secret related to counselor licensing exams? Okay, I'm going to give it to you forthrightly, so try to stay calm, cool, and collective. If you need a Xanax, a Valium, or Jacobson relaxation to help you get through this, I'd prefer the latter. So be it. Here it is. No matter what exam you take, most of what you study will not be on the exam. Again, please indulge me as I repeat myself because it is that important. Most of what you study will not be on the exam. There, I said it. The cat's out of the bag. Now you know. Don't say you weren't warned. The bottom line is that there's so much material that could conceivably pop up. You will have to study a massive amount of information that won't be on the exam. This totally explains why folks say things like, I studied Piaget for hours and hours and there wasn't a single question about him. Or, I knew every psychotherapist theorist's name and not a single theorist's name was mentioned on the whole exam. Or, I spent a wealth of time learning about the history of counseling, and none of it appeared on the exam. Everything was about the newest concepts in the field. However, and this is one big however, 6 months later, somebody who took the identical exam that you took quips, yeah, the whole exam was nothing but Piaget, counseling theories, and the history of counseling. To put it succinctly, virtually all comprehensive exams have parallel forms or versions. One version might emphasize Piaget, while another will not even mention his name, much less his theories. But since you have no clue which version you are going to tangle with, you always, and I do mean always, study a whole lot more than you need. The cold hard truth is you can't change this, and I sure can't change this. It's simply a fact of life. So to reiterate, everybody, and I do mean everybody, who does well on the exams studies a whole lot more than they will need for the actual test. No exceptions. Number 8, when you are answering the actual questions on the real exam, take your good old sweet time. Here's a surprise, at least to me, and it's a good one. Both the NCE and the CPCE have a 4-hour time limit. Rarely, if ever, does anybody say that they did not have time to finish the exam. And as you now know, I've talked to thousands of counselors. In fact, I recall NBCC saying the same thing in some of their literature. Onward. Number 9. What should I do if I feel like I missed a huge number of questions on the exam and I'm not even halfway finished? Answer. Keep an optimistic attitude and keep plugging away at the exam. Do not give up. Let me share with you a sad story. A counselor once told me she ran out of the room crying toward the end of the National Counselor Examination because, as she put it, quote, I might have missed 40 or 50 questions, end of quote. She never finished the exam. Think about it. The NCE has 40 questions that are field tested, and the CPCE sports 24. These questions are not graded. Since you won't know which questions are being pilot tested or field tested, it behooves you to do the best you can on every single question. Translation: You can miss a heck of a lot of questions on these exams and still come up with a dynamite, super impressive score. 10. What if I've been out of grad school for 20, 30 years or more? Answer, relax. I've got your back. I've got this under control. I'm going to take you by the hand and review the classic material from square one while updating you on cutting-edge topics and terminology it didn't even exist when you were in school. Also, my audio program has an entire CD devoted to test anxiety prevention ideas that are new and refreshing. It is also replete with a complete guided imagery session, just like you would experience if you consulted me in person. 11. Don't make this huge mistake of not using memory devices. Virtually everybody who takes these exams can benefit from memory devices. Exclusive memory devices are included in all my materials. Counselors love them, and now virtually all of my competitors have tried to copy mine or come up with their own. Hey, imitation is the best form of flattery, so thanks, guys and gals. How could you remember, just take an example here, that in Pavlov's old dog experiment, the CS must come before the US in order for conditioning to be effective? Try this one right this very minute. Say out loud, C comes before U in the alphabet. Never mind what CS and US mean at this point in time. Repeat after me again. C comes before U in the alphabet. So in the experiment, the CS comes before the US. Yep, it really, truly can be that easy. Number 12, a major mistake. Trying to prepare for the biggest exam of your life using free flashcards, bargain basement internet sites, and YouTube videos. Well, I guess you could do it, but I've yet to meet a counselor who used this route and came out successful. Here's why. Okay? Yeah, there's some great stuff on the web, but there's also a lot of junk. I mean, total garbage. I watch some of these videos, and I'm convinced the person giving the lecture isn't even a counselor and knows nothing about the subject. Their explanations don't even make sense. I've seen flashcards on the web that claim to be based on my materials with totally incorrect information. Incidentally, since I don't have any flashcards on the internet or anywhere else for that matter, if you see them with my name on it, you know they're a fake. One internet site was showcasing flashcards and notes supposedly based on my book and CDs. There was only one problem. All the material he was charging for was completely incorrect. When I personally confronted the CEO, he admitted to me he was hiring first-year counseling graduate students to put the material together, and he never checked with an expert to see if the information was correct. What? Excuse me? Do you want somebody with less education than you trying to guide you through the most important exam you will ever take? I don't think so. Not on this planet. So the best advice I can give you is to take action now using proven study materials with a proven track record such as those I have authored. You can look into it at www.howardrosenthal.com. My biggest accomplishment is your success. I want you to reach your hopes, goals, and dreams as a counselor, and I would love for you to be my next testimonial. If you need anything, I'm here to help. I have my email linked to my howardrosenthal.com website, and indeed, I really, truly answer all my own email. When you email me, when you write me, you correspond with me. So close your eyes, yes, this very moment, and visualize yourself. You have passed the NCE, the CPCE, your comps, or attained your counselor's license. Maybe all of the above. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? Have a great day. Dr. Howard Rosenthal.